and people are dealing with relationship stress. So, what better time to talk about this topic than right now? I tell you. And, I have a lady on. Can I call you a lady, my girl, my friend,
Yeah,
my homie? You've been on, Jen, you're my girl. Can I say that now?
you can.
Yes. Yeah. And you would tell me if it wasn't right. Or you would log off subtly and I would never see you again. But no, Jen, I tell you, she knows what she is talking about, and she has been on before. And thank you all for who are listening online and through the app. But also, you can now watch me on Facebook. So catch me on Facebook Live. We are now public, so we are good to go. Now, I got to give her a proper introduction. I don't care how many times she's been on here. We're not going to bring her in raggedy any kind of way. Right, Jen? Because we better read her credentials, honey, because she has got them. Jen, let me hold on, Jen. And, I always try to be organized, Jen, but I didn't have my little script popped up.
You're fine.
Y'all know we take care of housekeeping in public. I'm not worried about that. When you're doing a million things, it is what it is. But I should be able to recite it but I like to be organized. But anyway, she is Jennifer J. Hayes. And the J stands for just helping you in your relationship. Can I say that, Jen?
That's
Just
a good one.
helping you out, just matching you up. Yeah. But she is the director of operations with South Carolina Matchmakers. She is a dating and relationship practitioner, author, and relationship advice columnist, and a crisis intervention specialist. Welcome back to the Dr. Don Radio Show, Jen. How are you, girl?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Always. Jen, I said, I want to have some Love Lounge talk because it's just like we're talking girlfriends, right?
Right.
And
I love being on.
And you always and I love how your perspective is just, it may not be what somebody else says, it's just different. You're not on here to agree with me or to agree with any other guest or tell anybody what they want to hear, but you've been doing this for a long time. And
with you.
Yeah, you just have your own personality. And I love when people they know what they're talking about. And they're like, well, Dr. Don, let me add this. And I'm like, that's an aha moment. So before we go into this, Jen, I want you to tell us a little about your experience so the people know you are credible. Okay.
Okay. I've been a matchmaker and relationship expert. I've been in the dating industry since 1998.
Wow.
Yeah, since 1998, a long time. And I've worked with, hundreds of singles, thousands of singles. Yeah. And just recently started working with a few couples. I usually don't, because I'm in the dating industry.
Yeah.
I get the opportunity to work with singles. But once we match up a couple, then here recently, because I'm a relationship coach, I have the opportunity to work with couples. And so that's kind of a different avenue for me, but I really enjoy it.
Okay. Now, I like that because, Jen, the thing is, after they get together, we're having some challenges and they already trust you because you've matched them up.
Right.
And that's what that coaching, I think, certificate, because you haven't always been a coach, have you?
No, I haven't been a coach. It's been 5 years since I've been a coach. Okay. But like I said, I've been in the dating industry and as a matchmaker and kind of behind the scenes and the marketing and all aspects of the dating industry.
Yeah.
For 27 years.
But they need it because when they're dealing with challenges, it's not like they walk out the door, oh my gosh, we're a perfect happy couple and now we're good. No, you're going to have some problems.
Right. Absolutely.
That's just how it is.
Absolutely.
That's just how it is. And I'm glad you said that because you author, relationship, advice columnist, all of that, because you are, and how long have you been married?
Why do I have to think about it? 19 years. It was 19 years in April. So.
Oh, wow. Beautiful. Yeah. So not only is she helping, but she's standing on it. And not that you have to be married to be a good relationship coach or a good matchmaker, right?
Right. Because you don't. No, absolutely.
Now, correct the people, Jen, because for a couple of, I think a couple of shows, I referred to you as a date. What did I refer to you as? An online, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not judging, but I'm saying, what did I referred to you as something, and you said, no, I'm a matchmaker. I don't do
Right. So I think you referred to me as one of the online sites like Match.com. Yeah, Match.com or eHarmony. And we're not. We screen all of our clients. They come in and meet with us one-on-one. We do background checks.
Okay.
You know, that's why people love us, you know, for their safety. And we meet with, you know, you face to face. So a lot different than online dating.
Okay.
Like a headhunter.
I like that. And look, no shade to that, but what I like that you said is background check.
Yes.
Let's be honest here, and I'm just being honest. When you go on these sites, how do you know they have had a rigorous background check? How do you know? I mean, because when you go online, sometimes there's no one to protect you. You meet them online, right? But you're kind of you're like, hey, we've done our checking. Is that one of the reasons why people like to come to you, because they know that you kind of you've done all that?
They come to us because they want to be safe. They want to know that the person is real. There's a lot of scammers online, and you just don't know. I mean, anyone can input a profile online and join a dating service if you have a credit card, or some of the sites are free. So you can snatch a picture off of Google and put it as your profile picture. And you can take somebody else's life, you know, and, you know, pretend to be somebody else. And people are just leery of that. We've also had a lot of clients that have been scammed, you know, so they've done the online dating sites. It hasn't worked because they have been scammed. So, and there's other reasons. Sometimes they come to us for their privacy. They don't want their information online.
That's right.
So, you know, they want to be discreet about it, and, you know, they don't want everybody knowing how they met somebody, you know. So it's a touchy subject when you're talking about your love life.
It is, because the first thing people will say, well, Dawn, you don't have anybody yet? You're, you know, or you had to do that to get it. There's no shame in it, right?
No, absolutely. And one of the things that we tell our clients is that it's not about being desperate. It's about you really caring about your future. I mean, one of the most important things that you do is the person that you're going to spend the rest of your life with. And so why would you leave that to chance, or leave that to meeting somebody at a bar or online? Why wouldn't you make that investment? You do that with your school, you do that with work, you do that with your kids. Why not with your love life?
Yeah. And see, my thing is, now you said the word desperate. If you're desperate, this is not the right thing for you. Or you have to be in the right space. Or, Jen, when they say, oh, well, I just don't have time, Jen, find me somebody. No, are you going to be there? Because you have to cultivate the relationship, people.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what do you say to those clients who are like, well, I just don't have time, find me somebody, and you think because you throw in money that is everything going to work out? What do you tell those clients?
We tell them that that's part of the reason why they haven't met the right person, that you have to make dating and this a priority. And if you can't, then you're going to be in the same situation, whether you make the investment or not.
Yeah. When people say they don't have time, do you believe it, or do they not make the time?
They don't make the time. And one of the things I do as a coach is I have them write out everything that they do, like for a week. And they will see that they spend, you know, how much time they spend on social media, how much time they spend, you know, at the gym, how much time they spend grocery shopping, and realize that they do have a lot of time. It's really what you prioritize. And if this is important to you. But I think that what it is in society, we're always taught that it's just going to happen. You know, you're going to meet the right person, pray about it. God's going to put the right person in your life. And I do believe that happens, but I believe that it's an active prayer. You know, you have to do the work.
Yeah. So true. Because, you know, hey, faith without works. You're not going to sit at home unless the UPS man is the husband for your dream and he delivers your Amazon pack. And then they don't even knock on the door anymore, Jen. They just leave a package on the ground. So really, you done missed him too. So you better get up, get out of the house, right, Jen? We gotta take some action steps, and I like that. And it's not about being a size 5, a size 3, none of that superficial stuff. But you've got to get yourself up and get back in the game. I like that. Now, we got to talk about stress. Relationship stress is real, Jen.
Absolutely.
And I just love that God said, hey, it's relationship, love lounge. Let's talk stress in relationships because it is real. Jen, let's start. It is Stress Awareness Month. What, in your experience, have you found why many couples, or some of the top challenges, or some of the top reasons why couples are encountering relationship stress?
I think, again, when we go back to what I do is I work with a lot of singles.
Mhm.
And so, with couples, I think that it's, communication, there's financial stress on the family, kids. There's a lot of different issues that can stress out a relationship,
Mhm.
intimacy issues, not making time for each other.
Yeah.
um, with dating, I feel like it's kind of different. Like with the singles that I work with, I feel like there's a lot of stress in dating, just going through the process, like the
Wow.
journey. That they're the uncertainty about, am I going to meet the right person? Am I going
Yeah.
to fall in love? Am I going to get married? And I think that based on where you're at in your life, that stress is different. And I can even relate to myself. I know that, my 30s before I met my husband, my stress was with dating was, am I going to meet the person and have a family with? So that was
Right.
my biggest concern, is like, I'm getting too old. Like, I want to have kids.
Yeah.
Am I going to, so every date that I went on, it was like, instead of enjoying the date, instead of focusing, just enjoying the moment, I was so worried about the end goal.
Yeah. We stress about a lot. Read Damon's comment, Soul of a Man. Read his comment, Jen.
I'm not seeing anything on my
Oh,
screen.
okay. He says you really have to watch what you put online these days.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
we just talked about that. Uh, yeah, yeah. But no, go ahead, Jen.
And well, let me ask you this question. Is he relating that to couples or
Are
with
you
that?
relating that to couples, Damon, or just in general? Because I think I think he's referring to online dating, like
Oh,
you.
online dating. Absolutely.
But
And even, one of the things, even though I'm a matchmaker and I will always promote matchmaking, I believe that if you do online dating, or if you do, different avenues, that you have to do your own background checks. You
oh
have
yeah,
to, create your own safety net, and you can do that. I think a lot of people just don't know how to do that, but you can, and you just have to be careful. If
yeah.
you're
No, go
talking
ahead.
to somebody, yeah, and they're not like video chatting with you, or you keep
Uh,
arranging dates and they don't want to meet up, these are red flags.
yeah, yeah. Oh wow, that's good right there. Because I mean, look, okay, talking on the phone is one thing, but when it's time to meet up,
Hmm.
video chat only goes so far. If they only do that, or my phone's broken. I mean, come on, some of these are red. Or Jen, can I say this? Asking for money
Oh,
after
absolutely.
after online
That is a
meeting.
black flag.
Black. That's a black, green, red, purple, every color of
Yeah,
the rainbow flag. We've had two
that's
conversations.
yeah, that's a we end this conversation flag.
Yeah. Hello. That's not even a flag. I'm out of here. Boo. Because this is the thing. Oh, we talked all night long, 4 hours long. Is it a relationship though? If it's just over the phone. Jen, we've had two conversations over the phone. I talked to him for 4 hours yesterday. Today we talked for 4 hours. Is he my boo?
Well, if that's what you consider to be your boo, I mean, most
Yeah.
people want more than that. They want
Yeah.
more than a 4-hour conversation. They want
Yeah.
to meet face to face. But again, been doing this a long time, and I've had clients that have formed relationships with people that they've never met,
Yeah.
that they've never video chatted with, that they've sent money to, and
Mm.
and they've connected with them and fallen in love. And it's sad because I've had several clients where I'm telling them, showing them that this is not a real person. This is not a real person. And they just do not want to let go because they need that in their life. There's
Yeah.
something that they're getting from that type of relationship. And they even joined our service to try to get them away from that person.
Yeah.
So,
Well, it's something internal. You have to deal with the inside.
absolutely.
And that's I mean, you have to deal with the person on who they are on the inside, because if it's some other stuff, we cannot match you up because you are not in a healthy place.
Right.
That's just the reality. Hey, Pastor Lawanda, how are you? Thank you all. Look, Jen, and we just have to talk about it because in no way, people, are we cutting anybody down. I have made my own relationship mistakes. Been there, done that, right? I think we all have. But
Oh, yeah.
I want you to talk about Jen because I love when my guests come on here. Good, good. I'm glad you're good, Pastor Lawanda. The thing is, Jen, we all have had our own mistakes, mess ups, and sometimes
Hmm.
that's why we're good at what we do, or it's our ministry, right? I say my mess is part of my ministry. But
Right.
talk about a time, maybe in your marriage, past relationship mistakes, whatever, when you yourself, y'all were dealing with relationship stress. It was unnecessary stress, or maybe it was toxic.
Mhm.
How did you deal with that situation? Because I like my audience to know we all have been there. You're not alone.
Right.
Yeah.
I would say like past relationships prior to my marriage,
Yeah.
just stress, it probably just maturity,
Mhm.
not mature enough to handle silly, arguments or situations, just not, not there, not at that stage in life. But I would say like moving forward in my marriage, of course, we've been married 19 years. We've had stressful years,
Yeah.
we've, I can think back to when Mikey was first born and us losing both of our jobs.
Mm. Oh,
It was,
wow.
yeah, and insurance, lost insurance. And we're like, oh my goodness,
Yeah.
like we just, we had a new baby, like what are we going to do? And just dealing with it by bickering,
Yeah.
and what I realized from that situation is we just had to communicate with each other and know that me and Mike are both in this for the long haul. We have each other's back
Yeah.
regardless what happens. And and
Wow.
we made it through. And recently would probably be the stress of my cancer, me having cancer, just the unknown, and me dealing with it a different way, and him, and him having to, because if you've never had cancer before, you don't really know how that affects your life or how it
Mhm.
feels, even though it's your spouse. And so him not under, him trying to understand like when I'm emotional, or going through the process. But we worked it out, and he's I think we learned to communicate, and as we grow in our marriage, we just learn more and more about each other. You
Yeah.
think you know everything, and then
Yeah.
you're married 19 years, and wow, I learned something completely new about you.
And Jen, this is what I want to touch on because man, girl, I just love when we have these kind of conversations. And I may have a script, but I'm like, let the Savior lead. Jen, this is when you take those vows, because we're going to talk about couples goals, relationship goals. We see the hashtag, we've got matching Benzes, everything's good. That is not reality.
No.
Because when reality hits, Jen, the truth is you've had some couples that didn't last when one of the partners got sick. I
Right.
can't deal with this. I'm out of here.
Right.
Or when times are tough and the money's low, I can't do this. We're going
Yeah.
to talk about couples relationship goals later, but I just want people to know, talk about, Jen, how when you make the vows, you will be tested by them. Don't think, I mean, after the I almost said funeral, but some it is, but after the reception is over, after the honeymoon, life will hit. So you got a baby, no health insurance, no money. I mean, my goodness. So tell people the reality, not that it's a bad thing. Some of those things test your marriage and it makes it stronger. So just
Right.
talk to some couples and encourage them who may be going through that.
I think that you have to. One of the biggest things is communicating with each other. I think that when you're going through certain things, a lot of times we shut down. We don't want to talk about it. We don't want to tell our partner like our needs and what we want. And yes, I think that any person that's listening or who hears this that's been married for a few years or even a year, sometimes you go through it in the first year,
Yeah.
realize that that's not reality. Like what we see on social media, for the most part is not, well, let me say this. A lot of times people don't show their bad. Because like for me, I'm never going to post my negative stuff online. That's
Yeah,
nobody's
yeah,
business. I don't need to tell, show you what's going on. But I
yeah.
want to post the good because there is a lot of good. There is a lot of
Absolutely.
good. And I think
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of times people have like a false reality of what marriage is. You know,
That's
they want the big wedding, they want all of those things, but what they don't realize is that the real test happens, like you said, is like once the honeymoon's over with, now it's time to put in the work.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times we start taking each other for granted. So that same work that you put in to get the person, or that you did to prepare your wedding, or all of that, you have to continue that. And it's not easy. And I'm not saying that it's going to be 100% if you do that, but it's a daily struggle, and it's a yearly struggle. And you just have to find new ways to make it work. You know, what works for me might not work for you. You know, I know with me and my husband, like I'm a big communicator. Like, I want you to talk to me. If you're mad, happy, or whatever, I need to know.
Yeah.
Where, you know, Mike is more closed off with his feelings. But as the years gone on, I've learned that. So on, you know, times where I used to push him before to like, you got to tell me how you feel. Now it's more of, I let him do it on his time, because I realize that that's not going to get us anywhere.
Yeah. Man, do you see why I love Love Lounge conversation? Jen, I tell you, and Jen, I love when I see couples celebrating, like you all, a beautiful picture of y'all 19 years ago. Y'all still look like y'all 19. Okay, I'm just saying.
You have to lie to us.
Okay, y'all look good, honey. But that's what good love will do. You shouldn't look 50 years older. There's something ain't right with that. But y'all look just younger, which means hopefully no stress, right? Just, you know. But
right.
The point I'm making is I love seeing happy couples and all of that. But if you know something's going on behind the scenes, don't post a perfect marriage if you know there are problems. That's all I'm saying. And sometimes people are putting up an image, all of that. But I just want people to know that sometimes what people are posting, you're following them. They have a large following, big house. That doesn't mean everything is perfect.
Oh, absolutely not.
Let's talk about the reason why some people may have stress, relationship stress, is they're comparing themselves to others.
Oh, absolutely. And I've had, you know, I won't name any names, but I've had friends where they've had to, in order for their marriage to get stronger, they've had to get off of social media because one spouse was comparing and wanting, you know, well, his wife does this and, you know, blah, 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 blah. You don't do this for me. And, you know, it's just not realistic. Like I said, every household is different. Every couple is different. And what works for you might not be what works for the other person. You know, you have husbands that stay at home and don't work at all. And if that wife is content with that and they're happy, more power to them. You know, I don't judge anybody when it comes to that. It's your life, your marriage, do you? But and another thing though that I want to say is, just because couples don't post that they're happy doesn't mean that they're not too. A lot of people are very private. They don't put all their business online.
That's right.
You know, so they don't post, you know, I love my spouse all the time. Doesn't mean that they don't.
We're good. We don't. And some people want to keep people out of their business.
Right.
Yeah. So if Mike happens to, and see all of this, and I want to really get into this, Jen, and this is why I think we let people into too much into our lives, right? We know you have a son. We know you have a husband. That's fine, right? But if someone sees Mike at lunch with a coworker, oh, Jen, you know, all of that, I'm just warning you, letting you know, no, we're good. He had lunch with a coworker. What is this? Or all these pictures going on. Mike, let's take a selfie. We had lunch. No, we don't need to take a picture. You see what I'm saying? Stuff will just come to the... You bring unnecessary, we put too much on social media for no reason. Right. And then we wonder why we have problems or people are in your business. You invite them in.
Absolutely.
Some things need to stay private. That's my opinion. You don't need to know. We don't need to know y'all are at Burger King and you both got a matching cups. You know, king crowns or whatever they got going on. We don't need to know all that. It's fine. and you don't have to validate it. You don't have to validate your relationship to anybody. You know, and I like that you shared that, and of course not their name, but the real example of that it does happen where you can compare yourself. Look at what they do. Look at what they.
It does, and I would be lying to say that I haven't done that in the past. Yes, of course.
Me too. I've done it.
if I see, oh, this husband's done all of these things, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, Mike, you need to step up your game.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
I married who I married, and I love him, and
yeah,
I don't want him to be somebody else that he's
yeah,
not. So
yeah. And we just, I mean, that's with anything. Or there was a time, Jen, a couple years ago, I was not doing well financially. I think it was before the pandemic or whatever. It was just, I'm seeing all these people, bonuses prosper, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I had to cut it off because it
right,
started. I'm like, man, you're happy for other people, but I started to feel like unintentionally you can. So I like that you shared that example, and that's just the truth, right? But you got to
right,
cut some of that
absolutely,
off. And you got to keep your mind up. For me, I got to keep my mind on God. If you're having a bad day, you celebrate others, but sometimes you got to turn that off. I like you said that. Now, Jen, let's talk about, you already talked about, I want to talk about warning signs because people
okay,
need to know. Some people don't even know, right? There are red flags.
yes.
Talk about some warning signs of relationship stress.
I think arguments, like frequent arguments, that's definitely a sign that something's going on. Maybe lack of wanting, to be intimate, could be not always the case, but could be. I just think when your spouse is withdrawing from you, it's not, or they're feeling like resentment. Sometimes one thing that I was going to say is with couples, one of the stressors could be like difference in like goals, like or difference in where you're going in life. Like you can be moving at a fast rate and maybe your spouse isn't, and there's resentment there. And
Wow.
so, I think, those are some of the warning signs, bitterness, them snapping at you. And then if you're feeling stress, that's also a sign of things that are not going right in your life. It could be your relationship. So,
I like that you said the bitterness, snapping. I think sometimes we don't pay attention when things change. We
right,
ignore it. We don't communicate, like you said, and then it just boils over. And if you communicated, if you addressed it immediately, maybe the situation wouldn't get to where it is. That's just sometimes. But let's talk about stress from outside sources. Jen, many people, you have, Jen, people with stressful jobs,
yeah,
right?
demanding careers. I think that's, and let's go back to me, like that's probably a stress that if you had Mike on, he'd probably tell you that I do besides working, I do a lot of volunteer work. I'm always helping somebody out, and sometimes I have to realize that that my son, which I give a lot to them, my son and my husband come first, but I try to be there for everybody else.
Yeah.
And so I think sometimes that's a stressor in our relationship.
That's good. That's true. And I think sometimes we are wearing so many hats.
Yeah.
I'm not a mother, I'm not a wife either. I can only imagine what wives and mothers have to do, and you're doing other things, and not that you're not taking care of home, but I
Right.
like that you said, but if Mike says this is a stressor, let's talk about it.
Right. Right. But again, that goes down to communication because, sometimes I'm not aware of that. I mean, I am, I realize that I do a lot of things, but sometimes I'm not aware of that. You need my time too, Yeah.
Jen, Pastor Lawanda says you all have touched on some of the things I will be discussing with an engaged couple I'm counseling on Saturday.
Oh, awesome.
Hey, we gave you something to add to the talking points, Pastor Lawanda. But see, she's a counselor as well, and I always know I'm dealing with people who are, when you have two people who you didn't even know Pastor Lawanda, I did forget you are a counselor. I should. Pastor Lawanda does so many things. But when you all pretty much are talking about the same thing, engaged couple, and I like that she said that, Jen, we've got to address it before you get married, letting you know how to, because we have to be proactive.
Right.
And I think that's why I'm such I ask couples, Jen, who I have interviewed who have divorced, did you have premarital counseling? And I can tell you about 95, 8-ish% said no.
Most couples don't,
They don't. Yeah. She says communication is key, but you have to understand that everybody's communication style is different.
Very
So
different.
so true. Talk about being proactive. People need that premarital counseling, Jen. They need that. They need it.
They absolutely need it. And I think it's, a lot of times people think, oh, counseling, like something's wrong with us.
Mhm.
No, we want to continue for this to be right.
Yeah.
We want to continue down the road of success. And I think, with counseling, all it's going to do is it's going to give you the tools to help maneuver through the hard times,
Yes.
and if
Yes.
you really take it seriously and if you really do the work, because marriage is hard, marriage and parenting, all of that is so hard. And it's just, you need help. And people just kind of think, okay, we got married and, we're in love and
Everything's going to be great.
gonna,
No, they're
yeah,
preparing you so when something does happen, okay, now we have the tools to address it. Communication. And
absolutely.
instead of we're sleeping in separate bedrooms and I'm going to stay out all night and I'm not, and I'm going to give you silent treatment. You see what I'm
Right.
saying? And then I also like, and Pastor Lawanda, we've got to get you on here for a Love Lounge convo soon. But Jen, the thing I find is when you have premarital counseling, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or when they sit down with someone like you, coaching, what have you, the coach, the counselor will bring out some things that make you uncomfortable, but we need to talk about this.
Right.
Are you in debt? Do you have money problems? Do you have, all of these things that you're not thinking to ask? The coach, the counselor is going to ask and bring some things to the surface, and you have to think, oh, wait a minute, I didn't think of that.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, that's why, that's why he or she's the mediator, and they can, like you said, pull things out that you didn't even think about,
Man.
or things that you didn't realize would happen. She
Mhm.
put you in different situations and different scenarios, and how would you respond to this?
Oh,
Because
yes.
depending on how long you've dated that person, you might have never experienced that with them.
That's right.
And so that's extremely important.
Mm. Let's
And
talk about, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, I was going to say, going back to what she said about communicate, people communicate differently. They do. And, a lot of times, we're told, like you said, we got to get everything out, and you can't go to bed mad and blah, 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 blah. But you have to meet people where they're at. And,
Mm.
with me and Mike, like I said, I'm the big communicator. He needs to really think about it
Mhm.
and let it set, so
Yeah.
that he can, formulate the right response, or
Yes.
something that's not going to come out harsh. And I think, a lot of times we don't understand that. And so I think that, in counseling, they can walk you through that to help you guys really communicate together.
Mm. That's good, man. Yeah, Pastor Lawanda, I'm gonna have to now. Pastor Lawanda, you're gonna have to be one of my Love Lounge go-tos. I got Jen, Amber. Now I got somebody else to add. I love it, love it. Now, Jen, sometimes the stress can come because of family.
Mm-hmm.
Mother-in-law, cousins in the business,
Yeah.
all of that. Talk about family. How do you set up healthy boundaries with family so that doesn't cause stress?
I think setting up healthy boundaries for me is not telling people my business.
That's good.
I know when I was younger, I would confide in, my mom and, my girlfriends and everything. And I've just realized with my marriage that, yes, I still confide, in my mom with some things, but the stuff that's between me and Mike is between me and Mike.
That's right.
And
That's
so
right.
that's, that if you have, thank goodness I have a great mom and I have a
Yeah.
great mother-in-law, and they don't get, they're not nosy and they don't get in our business, but a lot of couples do. A
Yeah.
lot of couples do. But I think that a lot of partners go to their in-laws, or go to their mom, and they tell them, oh, he did this, or he's treating me like this. Then, I mean, they love you. How do you think that they're supposed to feel?
Yeah.
So it creates this barrier between, your in-laws or your
That's right.
mother and your spouse. And so it's just hard. You've got to learn how to separate that. And a lot of people can't,
Yeah.
but luckily I'm able to do that.
Yeah. And then and people, we're not talking about domestic violence. We're talking about you got mad at him because he worked 2 hours late and dinner was on the table and you told mom and aunties, and then by the time it gets to the family reunion, people are
Right.
saying, yeah, you know, he got a side family and a side wife, and girl, you know, he cheating on her. It's blown up into this whole thing that it doesn't. And I like that you said healthy boundaries is I keep people out of my business.
Right.
Man. And look, I like, and I want you to weigh in on this, Jen. Pastor Lawanda says, on the wedding day, I express the boundaries in front of the family and friends. Let everybody know, right? I mean, come
Well,
on.
yeah, I'm not that bold, but
She is. You got to be with some of these people because she
yeah.
knows.
And like I said, I
She
have
knows the couple
amazing.
she counsels, and she's like, "Look, let me say this publicly. If you're dealing with that kind of family, sometimes it needs to be said." Go ahead, Jen.
Yeah, you have to. And a lot of times, those the family issues are about money. Like if
Mm,
you have a son that's given its mom money, or a daughter that's been supporting their mother, and
yeah,
you've got to work that out. Those are things that have got to be, like you said, set boundaries prior to getting married, because it could be a huge stressor in the marriage. And I've known some people like that where they were paying certain things for their parents, and then once they get married, the wife's like, oh, that's got to stop.
yeah,
But
yeah. And that's a good point. I have a family to take care of. Or maybe you were helping out a relative who were having challenging times. It's time for you to get up and get it together.
Right.
Because you have to take care of your family, and then kids come. All of this, you've got to have healthy boundaries. I love that, and I love that part, Jen, because financially supporting the family, we've got to cut that off. I have to take care of my household.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's and then some. Pastor Lawanda talks about you tell family and friends what went on, they are still mad,
Right.
and you
And get
forgiven
over
them.
it.
You have forgiven them, but the family, grandma is still mad
Yes.
because you spoke out of emotion. You've been forgiven, and everybody mad at him at the family reunion. Oh my goodness, I tell you, I mean, family it's a touchy. You love
It is.
family, but it can. But you have to set up healthy boundaries even
You
with.
do.
I like that. Keep them out of your business. Keep them out of
Yeah.
your
And
business.
it's to protect you and them.
But doesn't it also protect your partner? Has to feel protected. If you're telling
Absolutely.
all of Mike's business, and even on this show, because and you're sharing some things which I'm sure Mike is not uncomfortable with. But if you start
Right.
talking about some stuff and he's like, I didn't want you to talk, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Doesn't that violate the trust?
It does. It does. And I know him, I know my partner, so I know what he's comfortable with and what he's not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And so
Yeah.
I wouldn't cross those boundaries with him.
Yeah. And some husbands, they're like, I don't care, say it. But but you have to know. So I think when we get in, even on these shows, or whatever setting, people, you need to be mindful not to say too much before you do a radio interview or you do whatever. Hey, babe, I'm talking about this. Is it okay?
Right.
Especially now, I've had couples, both of them come on, and they're just. But if one spouse, if it's one partner, make sure your partner is okay with sharing certain things.
Right.
Yeah, because y'all not gonna have coming over to the Dr. Dunn show talking about Dr. Dunn. No, I wasn't. Your wife said everything. Don't be mad at me, Mike.
No,
he's not. He's fine. But yeah, but I think we have to be careful. Even on social media, Jen, that can cause stress. Your husband didn't want you to share that?
It's usually a picture. With me, I get in trouble for sharing pictures, but I'm learning. Okay. Yeah. Okay. He's like, do we have any part of our life that's private? So he does. But I've learned him over the years, so I know now. I let him approve the picture if it's of him. If it's mine, it's mine. But
that's good, and that's good. That's good. You're on vacation and you're taking pictures. Your spouse, that may not be a flattering a picture of them gut hanging out at the on the beach. He may not want that.
Yeah, and I wouldn't post a non-flattering picture, but it's just pictures that maybe he doesn't think are flattering,
Ask them. But even little things like social media, you need to that can cause stress. Man, just don't post if they don't like that, don't do it. You have to respect them. I like it. Now, Jen, as we wrap this up, darling, we talked about healthy boundaries. Let's talk about some of the questions that one should ask when they're assessing is this a quality relationship? Because sometimes, Jen, it's not that maybe you're dealing with stress because of outside and whatever. It's just, is
Right.
this a healthy relationship? Do I need to be in this?
I think one of the biggest things is, well, we already said it, is how do we communicate with each other? And that's important. And I think that you will learn a little bit about, depending on how long you've dated the person, you're going to learn how your partner communicates. You're going to see that. I saw that in the very beginning of our relationship with Mike, that he communicated very different than I did. And I had to ask myself, is this something that I can deal with? Because we communicate so differently. Am I going to be okay with that? And I realized as we went on, it was just different. It wasn't that it was wrong. It was just different. And so, like, again, I had to allow him his space, where sometimes he needs to allow me to just kind of, regurgitate everything and get it out, because that's just my personality. But I think that's the big one. And with communication, people having different communication, they also have different love languages. And that's something that, a lot of people don't realize, that you love differently. And you might have been in a family where, like for me, my mom was, we're big on saying, I love you. We're big on giving gifts. We're big on, doing a lot for other people. Whereas maybe the other person is not. The other person, they didn't give hugs. They didn't say, I love you. They don't need gifts to tell you that they love you. And so I think I love doing the love language test. I always tell anybody that's matched up to do the love language test, because a lot of times you think, well, you know what? I'm like buying him gifts. I'm cooking for him. I'm doing all of these things. And he's not responding the way that I would respond. And then you realize, you know what? His love language is words of affirmation. His love language is quality time. And that's Mike's big one, is he loves quality time. Whereas me, I want you, to show me. And I like gifts too. And I'm not talking about big extravagant gifts. I'm talking about, a rose on my, my car, things like that. And so everybody's different, but I think that's a good one. The love languages. Do we share the same goals? That's a big one, because, it's different for me and Mike because we got married later in life. So we were kind of settled where we were going to be and what we wanted to do with our life. But I think when you're younger, couples that get married younger, sometimes they grow apart because they have different goals. Like, you have one person that's extremely driven and wants to be successful, where the other person is very content with where they're at. And a lot of times that causes issues, it causes issues.
And when she's okay being a housewife and a stay-at-home mom, but after the kids are out of the house, she's like, I think I want to go get my degree, and then I want to get my master's, and that kind of shifts things. And he's like, whoa, you know what I mean? So but that's why you have to communicate. And I like that you said, when you get married young, when you get married at 20, things are going to change at 30. Goals are going to change at 40 or what have you. So I like that you brought that up. That's a good one, Jen. That's a good one. Janice Harris, one of my biggest fans, honey. She says, good evening, ladies. Good evening to you, Janice.
Hello.
Janice is just I love Jen and just all of the people who watch and listen. Love it, love it, love it. Now, I love that. Now, sometimes the relationship's just unhealthy.
Right.
And it's time to move on. It's time to move on. How do you know when maybe this is a challenging time for us, or when this is just unhealthy and it's time to, and we're not telling anyone to break up, whatever. We're just talking about some things you may need to be thinking about. We're giving you some things to think about. So in your experience, Jen, let's talk about it that way. In your experience, when have you advised couples or given couples some insight that maybe this is just an unhealthy relationship?
Well, I would always say first, if you're being abused, and if you're being abused, that you need to get out of that situation. And I know a lot of times only they can make that decision, but I would definitely advise you, if you're being hurt or anything like that, to get out of the situation. And any type of abuse, like physical abuse,
emotional, narcissist, all of that. Yeah,
absolutely. And I know that's a little harder than just the physical abuse, to get out of the relationship. But I always, I think that when you feel like you've tried a lot of the avenues, or, there's no more avenues for you to try, and and nothing's changing. You know, there's no change in the relationship. I would say it's time to let it go. You know, if you feel like there's, you know, there's no way you two can move forward. Because I've seen couples that, you know, there's been infidelity and they've made it through it. So I wouldn't tell somebody just because he's cheating on you or she's cheating on you to end the relationship. I would say get the help, seek out a therapist, seek out a counselor, seek out a relationship coach, and do the work. And if you both put the effort in and do the work and it's still not working, make a decision whether this is the right relationship for you or not.
Yeah. And there are couples you would not believe, and I'm sure you know, but how many couples, and then I've interviewed some of them who they have, God healed their marriage after infidelity, but there were some deep-rooted issues when they got married.
Absolutely.
That they shouldn't have gotten, that they probably should have waited to get married. They both were in a broken place, you know, all of that. But I like that you said that because, you know, Jen, it happens. And depending on the couple, we're not, you know, but that's the reality. But you can work through it, but if you put in the work. But I also think, Jen, and I've heard a sister was sharing this, if you're putting in work and he's not, or if brother, you're putting in work and she's not, are both of you really putting in work to make this relationship? Do they really want this? So I think, Jen, this is good stuff. Hi, Sister Perkins. How are you? Good evening, darling. Jen, good stuff. Give me your favorite scripture verse, favorite quote, favorite positive. You know, I'm all about, I just believe we've got to put God in prayer at the center of everything, but we've got to put in work, like you said. You can't pray and we have a good marriage. No, you're going to have to put in work. Work. So give me your favorite scripture, what have you, when it comes to marriage, keeping yourself a godly wife, whatever, sister.
I think, you know, you've had me on before, and I always say that, you know, prayer without work is dead. That is my favorite for everything. But I think, you know, when I'm going through difficult times, it's, you know, I can do all things through him who strengthens me. I believe that to my core. Whatever's going on in my life, whatever's going on in my marriage, whatever's going on with work, with my kids, it will pass. You know, he's got me. God's got me. And so as long as I hold on to that, I can make it through.
I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And I love that. Jen, I tell you, sister, always good talking to you. I said, what did I say? 5 minutes to an hour. We've been 45 minutes. Because you are a married sister and I am a single sister, like I tell my married ladies, y'all need to go handle your business. Time for y'all to get on. Y'all can't be over here all night with me. Right? Healthy boundaries, Dr. John. I have to go, right?
Thank you for having me.
Always, Jen, always. Any final comments to the people?
Just, you know, I would, you know, I don't even know what to say at this point. I just think, you know, keep believing in love. You know, if that's what you want, it's out there, but it takes work. You know, don't think that it's just going to happen. You've got to put the work in, whether it's dating, whether it's a marriage, whether it's, you know, whatever you're doing, you got to put the work in. But if you really want it, it will happen. God hasn't forgotten about you. So your time is coming.
I love that. I love that. What are your rates? No, I'm kidding. Hey, we don't talk about that publicly. Right, Jen? Do you ever, when you do interviews, do people ask how much does it cost?
Yeah, it's pricey. I'll just tell you this.
Yeah. Do you have coupons? No, I'm kidding. Hey, you don't want a bargain basement.
No, you don't want a bargain basement.
Come on. Don't you want a good background check?
But you can be your own matchmaker. So for the people out there that can't afford it, there's a lot of different avenues. You know, join a meetup group, join a singles group, just do the background checks yourself.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different avenues. You can reach out to me at Jennifer J. Hayes on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, all of my social media sites. And if you have questions or concern, you know, any questions or anything that you want to know, some advice, reach out to me and ask me a question and I will not charge you.
Believe it. I believe, and trust me, Jen loves what she does. She's been doing it. How long, Jen? Since
1998.
Since 1998. She knows what she is doing, Jen. And I was kidding people about the coupons. I'm just saying.
You're fine.
I'm kidding. But also, Jen, before I let you go, I mean, we can meet God, I mean, the man of God, a woman of your dreams, what have you. She could be in line in front of you at the grocery store.
Absolutely. Be open. Be open to
Yeah.
the possibility. That's a big thing, is you got to be open. Your heart has to be open if you're looking for that.
That's right. Just make yourself available.
Right.
Available. I tell you, Jen. Great conversation, darling. Tell Mikey and Mikey hi. And
I will. Thank you for having me.
yes, God bless you, girl. Have a wonderful, wonderful night. I tell you.
You too. Bye.